and welcome to Witch Hat Chats. Come on in and sit for a spell. We're sponsored by Evermoving We Rise, Moonlight Potions and Charms, and Saul Ravencraft, Wizard for Hire. I am your goddess host, Miss Nikki Kirby, and our co-host is Saul Ravencraft, and I saw him somewhere. Where are you, Saul? Ooh.
I'm around. I'm definitely around. Um, we are in the middle of October, and it's fun. I'm going to be at Curia Arcanum's this afternoon, which I get to do not as often as I used to, but we did find a day in the middle of the month to be there. So after you're done watching this, if you're in Austin, come see me.
Awesome. And Moonlight Potions and Charms, we've got our new candles that are out and being celebrated, as well as Thing is out, and he is delivering messages to everybody who likes to be have a message to deliver to,
Right.
so to speak. And he can be used also for other situations that you don't like as well.
And he makes a great gift.
Yes, he does. He does.
Sends a message all by itself.
All by itself. And he's a wonderful little guy that's just crawling around. And like I said, our candles have been redesigned and they are in a container now, in which you can turn it into anything you want to because it's got a nice bamboo cover on top of it. So they make nice herb jars and so on and so on. So they're wonderful to be able to be recycled and reused all over again. So make sure you drop by Moonlight Potions and Charms and see what we're up to.
Nice.
You want to know what our divination is for today?
Of course I do. What do you got?
All right. So I'm having my positive energy tea today, and Miss Emily Dickinson is the one who has our divination today. And she says, and I quote, nature is a haunted house, but art that tries to be haunted. Oh, so Mr. Salt, since you're the expert over here on helping us with our divinations, what do you think that means?
Nature is a haunted house, but art that tries to be haunted. So I wonder if it's poking fun at art and artists and sort of the pretension of art. Great art has meaning. Great art expresses, and art that comes from within does that. But then you get to the point where people are trying to make art or trying to interpret art. So there's a woman named Amy Tan, and she wrote a book called The Joy Luck Club.
Oh, yes.
And
Very
I
good.
heard an essay that she written. We found this thing that was her reading some of her essays aloud. And one of them was about going into a bookstore and seeing cliff notes about the Joy Luck Club for the first time. And she said that was just surreal. You know, she's sitting there next to Shakespeare and Dickens and all that. And so she started looking through it. And she found all of this information about when Miss Tan wrote about this, what was she trying to say? What was the intention of the author by writing this in this way? And she said she was amazed at all of the profound meanings that she had inserted into her books and all of the incredible insight she had had as she crafted these statements. She said she thought she was just writing stories about her family. It never occurred to her the incredible wisdom she had had by crafting this book. And and so the person reviewing and the person teaching about the book got a completely different experience than she did when she was writing this and creating this. And it's that pretension that comes in. And so I wonder if there is a point where we push it, and we take that beautiful flow and expression that we might have with what we express artistically, and we try to make it something. A friend of mine was a tour guide in New Orleans, and he used to shake his head and laugh at people that would tell made up stories about some of these locations, because he went, the truth is good enough. Right? It's not like a horror movie, but it's scary enough. You don't need to make stuff up to find the horror in this stuff. But some people felt they had to crank it up a little bit for their audience. So I don't know. That's my take. What do you get out of that?
Well, it's like she's saying that art reflects nature. Is basically what I was pretty much thinking. Because the thing about it is, that's what we're always trying to do, is we're trying to show people, when we're doing art, we're trying to do an expression of what we're feeling at the moment, or what issue we're trying to express, whether it's about social justice, or it's just about sitting at home, being in the kitchen, whatever it is. That's your art form. And even I can even go deep down into this and say that this is more about shadow work. Because human nature, we are haunted. And we're haunted by our own tragedies, our own traumas, our own past. A lot of us are. And if we don't deal with that, then we lash out in ways that a ghost, in Hollywood movies, lashes out. With us, it's more like people turn to drinking, or they turn to drug addiction, or they turn to physical abuse, or something else. They turn to something negative. It's kind of similar in that way, is the way I kind of looked at it. But art can also be very, very beautiful once you process it, you understand it, and you move forward. So with human nature, once we understand why we've done something or why something has happened, then we can process it and we can move on. But there are things that we are never going to understand why somebody did something. There's events that we're never going to understand why somebody did something. I mean, for example, 9/11. We really don't really truly understand what was going on in their minds at the time, because we don't want people to be hurt or harmed. I think if you're going to commit suicide, then you ought to not harm anybody else. But some people don't think that way. And I'm not saying people should commit suicide, okay?
Right.
I'm not saying that. I said people need to go and try to get help first. But that's basically what ended up happening when the planes were driven into the towers. So it's one thing when you're trying to create your own art. And creating art is the process of expressing what you feel at that moment into a visual form, or for writers, into a written form. And that can be just as hard,
Sure.
depending on what it is, you know. So that's what I think it pretty much means. I think it means to go deeper into yourself and
Well,
learn about your own nature.
I think you hit upon an important aspect of it when you said that art should be natural, and that when we allow our art and our emotion and our expression to flow, then we get something that is honest. And when we push it and we try to make it happen, it becomes like the 17th sequel of a horror film. You know,
Right.
we've done everything. We're just doing another one. And I guess if you're someone that makes your living from art, there's a pressure to deliver. And I don't know how you work around that. How you stay close to nature. I mean, you talked about some of the ways to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but it requires you to be a whole person, or at least to try to be a whole person, not just your art.
Right. You know, and the thing about it is, part of shadow work is merging with your shadow, because until you completely merge with your shadow, you are still two people. You show people one side and then you hide the other side.
You're at least two people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, and that shadow can be your haunted nature.
fair enough.
Oh, that was deep.
But hopefully it wasn't pretentious.
Nothing's ever pretentious when you're around Saul.
Well, I guess it depends on who you talk to.
Oh, so let's go into our topic today, which is haunted houses, or just hauntings. Let's just go with hauntings.
Sure, because they manifest in many different ways,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they're not like they are in TV, but sometimes they
Nope.
kind of are.
Yeah, but well, I mean, I think TV really exploits a lot of things, and that's
You
one
think?
reason why. Yeah, I think um, that's one reason why I don't watch a lot of episodes like Ghost Hunters, or those other type of shows, because to me they don't really respect the ground that they're upon.
Sure.
You know, and whether you believe it or not, according to the ghost, you're trespassing on their property,
All right.
whether you believe that or not. And then when they start to interact with you, you get all, oh my God, they're interacting with us. Ah, we gotta run. I'm like, you stupid jackass. What? That's the reason why you never ask a question unless you know the answer and you want to know the truth. I mean, duh.
I know that if you go someplace where a spirit has been for a long time, maybe an office space, an abandoned space of some sort, that there is some of that level of trespassing as an idea. But people forget that when we're talking about your house, when we're talking about your sacred space, that you have authority there.
Right.
And the spirits, the spirits have to go along with certain aspects of what you require. You get to lay down some ground rules there. Now there's some exceptions, and there are things that are different kinds of entities where it's a whole other story going on. But when there's something going on in your place, you have a lot of authority to do something about that, but you have to exert it.
Right. And you know, me, I am one of those people that I get kind of tickled a lot of times, especially when it comes to ghosts and hauntings and things, because a lot of times what they think is a haunting really isn't a haunting. It can be really explained most of the time. But sometimes it's just like every time I used to tour the Winchester Mystery House, which I absolutely love that house. It is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And it is so mysterious, and you can get lost in the place. It's absolutely wonderful. Every time we hit Mrs. Winchester's bedroom, and that's where they start with the stories and the theories on why she created the house and all this other stuff. And she's always in that damn rocker. She's in that rocker. And when they start to talk about it, she basically says, this is her house. It's her money and it's her business. It's nobody else's business. And it's hilarious, you know? But yeah, I've been to other haunted houses, other haunted places. I've had several different types of experience, from the physical to the emotional to the mental. I've had them all. But there's not one certain way that you can be able to go in and it's going to happen every time. And it's not, and it rarely happens like they say on the television and in the movies. So let me ask you, Saul, when you experience a spirit or a haunting, when you used to go on your little haunting tours or whatever you went on, how would you try to interact with the spirit?
Well, so I never really did, ghost investigation like people like to talk about it. I would go to places and I would try to open to it somewhat, but never really had the opportunity to do that sort of major investigation sort of thing. I think on some levels that's a little bit of a blessing, because the again, with my background, getting involved in all this stuff to prove it wasn't true, I had a very narrow perspective on what was permissible, how the ghosts were permitted to reveal themselves, and what constituted as proof, and that kind of thing. And as I got involved in doing seances, I do seances with people. And a lot of the people that are involved in mine are mostly psi-curious, right? They're not necessarily looking to go deep into things. They just want some understanding of what this experience is like. And so we explore classical spiritualism techniques and mostly stay old school. I've got some gadgets, but I don't put a lot of credence in them. Because to me, mediumship, spirit connection is a very human thing. And the further you get away from that human aspect of it, the less meaningful anything is. So the kinds of things that I love to interact with are pendulums. I love candle sessions. Candle sessions just fascinate me because they become very conversant once it starts to happen.
And with that, we are going to take a small little quick break to listen to our amazing sponsors. And we will be right back with Witch Hat Chats. Stay tuned.
Anybody can tell you what is on a tarot or oracle card. What matters is seeing beyond what others may not be able to see and help the client to uncover what lies in the mist. What do readings from Moonlight Potions and Charms do?
Wednesday, I did this ancestor reading, and it was an amazing reading. And it was a detailed reading. And I remember talking to this customer's ancestors, and it was so delightful. And he wanted some questions to be answered about the magic in his family because he didn't know. And his family was mostly like most of our families are. You know how everything is like hush hush when it comes to the magic in his family. And he wanted to know who can he actually talk to about the history of the magic in his family. And I was able to give him specifically who he can go to talk to about that. What particular deity he can actually go to be able to help him with this. And it was just an amazing reading, and talking to his ancestors, they were such a delight, and they told me so much about this customer. It was just an absolutely wonderful reading for him, and I was just so happy to be able to give him this wonderful reading. It's really amazing to be able to give people these readings, these products that's really going to help them, and be able to give back to the community, because this is what Moonlight Potions and Charms is about. We want to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. That is what we are all about. It's to help you to do that.
Book now and allow our wonderful staff to take care of your spiritual reading needs. And there is so much more in our Wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you.
I'm Saul Ravencraft, co-host of Witch Hat Chats. I understand just how confusing and chaotic it can be to open to a path of magic and manifestation. Everything seems to turn on its head. I want to be an ally as you find the way upon your path. My studio setup will let us do readings, coaching, and exploration virtually, just as though you were sitting across the table from me. One size does not fit all, and we will work together to craft the right approaches to build your practice, your confidence, and your power using the tools of divination, magical works, and spirit connections. It's never too late to embrace a new path and emerge empowered. Go to TexasMojoMan.com and select Contact to begin. There's a message now. Let's get started working on your very good fortune.
Have you wondered what spirituality is? Spirituality is limitless, as it does not contain any boundaries on beliefs or practices. Spirituality's most important component is personal experience and allows one to explore it freely. Evermoving We Rise is a spiritual moving tradition, as our name is our lifestyle, because we are persistently rising and moving forward. We realize that everyone's spiritual journey is extremely personal, but more easily traveled with reinforcement. We'll teach you to become friends with your shadow, emerge your authentic self, and give you time and space to develop your own spirituality. And when situations bump back, you'll have the entire community behind you, as we are a magical family who work to sustain each other. Discover the benefits of working within a society dedicated to helping you grow on your personal path. Visit us on our website, Linktree, or Facebook page and discover why we don't fit in the box.
And welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. I am Saul Ravencraft. I am here with Miss Nikki Kirby. We're talking about hauntings and stuff, getting a little bit into some of the seance space. So a lot of what I do with people, I'm kind of a gateway mystic, right? I tend to bridge the gap between people who are curious about this into, okay, we can actually explore it.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the presentations I do, even seance work that I do, is more for the psi-curious. These are people that are interested in what this experience would be like. You know, they're kind of going beyond the Disney's Haunted Mansion for the first time. And so a lot of that is kept pretty high level, because we don't try and contact anyone specific to anybody. That's a whole other kind of thing. But every once in a while, I do have something where someone wants to go deeper. And there was one in particular where a friend of mine had connected me with someone. There were some kids who had been orphaned. There was like an 8-year-old boy, maybe 12-year-old, and like a 14-year-old boy, and maybe a 15, 16-year-old girl. And they were living with their aunt after their parents had been killed. And they were really looking for some level of closure. And whenever I do this kind of stuff, whether it's you know, more in the psi-curious space or in this kind of situation, I say it's possible that nothing at all will happen. Are you okay with it? Because you have to be. The spirits are not performing monkeys, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen. So everyone has to understand that I can't make this stuff happen. We can try and create the context where it can happen. So I had a few thoughts of how to do this. This is a really delicate situation. I don't really channel exactly. There have been situations that kind of close, but it's not something that I own for myself. Sticking mostly with classic spiritualism techniques. And we started a candle session, and the candle was extremely responsive. And for those of you that don't know what a candle session is, the way that I do it is it's a tapered candle, and let it burn a little bit. And then you ask the candle to show you yes, and it will do something. It always does. And then you say, show me no, and it will do something different. It always does. And now you have ways that the candle can express, similar to what you would do with a pendulum. This is very hands-off. And now you ask your questions. And the candle was extremely responsive to the kids' questions. I was pretty much just sitting back at this point and ready to mediate if I felt like it was necessary, but mostly just let them have the conversation. And there was this one point where the girl asked, "Are you proud of me?" And internally, I'm having a little bit of an oh shit moment. Because while I have learned that this candle does respond, my old skeptical self that is still back here goes, this could do anything. You can't control it. Which is, of course, the whole point. You can't control it. And so she asked this question, and my sphincter shrinks up, and the candle doesn't just go yes, because it was doing like this flicker up, this kind of flame up. It didn't just go yes, it went yes. I mean, the candle flame grew like 4 times as high as it was before. You could hear the flame when it flared up. So it wasn't just yes, it was, oh, hell yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which was, of course, the best possible answer you could hope for in
Right.
that moment. And we all had tears at that point. It was such a strong expression of love that came through that candle. And, you know, I think it's glorious when these things work the way the lore says that they will. And I don't understand it. That's one of the things that I still wrestle with, because as a problem solver, I want to understand why and how and all that. And I have to suppress that in those moments. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter how. Wow. How incredible. So a lot of what I do tends to be around there, and I try to get people as hands-on as possible. I want them to be involved with all of this, not just watching me show my powers, because it's all our powers, right? We are
Right.
all mediums. We're all psychics.
Mhm.
We're all magicians.
Right.
How's that
I
been
mean,
for you?
right. You know, I like those kind of sessions where you get the other people involved. That's really, really great to be able to do that. Instead of everything being focused solely on you and getting the other people involved, I really do enjoy those kind of sessions. I think those sessions are a lot more enjoyable because, number one, they're really opening up themselves when they're doing that, you know. But I've had a lot of many different types of way. I mean, a few months ago, I had a friend of mine who I went to school with. He was a year ahead of me, and he had passed away. And he was just a ball of sunshine. And I saw it on Facebook. He had been sick, but he was still going for his treatments. And I saw it on Facebook that he had passed, and I called his stepmother, and I asked. I said, "Is this actually legit, or is it one of those Facebook, tricks?" And as soon as his stepmother had called me back, he appeared before me, and I'm like, "Fuck."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Oh, fuck," and see, he had diabetes, and he needed a new kidney, and he had been on the list for a very, very long time. And basically, he wanted me to go talk to them and tell them this and this and this, and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, we ain't gonna do that. No. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm." So what I did was I created a candle called Grief and Healing. And the spell in that candle basically helps the family to be able to grieve, go through the grieving process. Because, people say, "Well, you're going to get over it." No, you don't get over it. You get through it. There's a difference.
Right.
And once you hit all those stages of grief, then you can be able to move forward with that. And so I created that candle, and I gave it to his father and his stepmother, and we had a good long conversation, and it was nothing but joy about my friend. And basically, he wanted to go out on his own terms. He was just so sick and tired of having to go 5 days out of the week to treatment.
Right.
And I don't blame him. I'm one of those people. I believe that this is your life, and there's certain conditions in which, if you think if you're going to go out of this world, I think you ought to be able to go out on your own conditions. And he wanted people to understand that, and I told him, I said, well, I said, people don't understand that until probably a little bit later. I said, right now, it's initially shock, but that's also the reason why we do ancestor elevation, so
Right.
they can be able to do that. Because even when somebody is sick for as long as he was, or even if somebody has cancer, everybody's known people who have had cancer for a long,
Right.
long time. They've been in hospice. They could die any day, and they're still there 6 months later, you know. And when they die, it's still kind of a shock. But think about it from the spirit's point of view. Okay, think about it from your point of view. 1 minute you are having this conversation, or you're drinking this beverage, or you're eating, or you're watching TV, or whatever you're doing, and the next minute you're dead. I mean, that could
Right.
be a rather big shock, right?
Sure.
I remember when I was in college for my graphics art and everything, and they wanted us to do an obituary, but it couldn't have no more than 5 words on there. Everything had to be visual, and it had to be
Right.
about us at the time. And I had the teacher, his name was Arthur, and he asked me, he says, Nikki, he said, wouldn't you be upset if nobody showed up at your funeral? I said, I think I'd be more upset the fact that I was dead. I mean, to me, I'd be more upsetting that nobody. I could give a rat's ass if it came to my funeral. I mean,
Right.
shit. Because funerals are for the living. I'm dead.
Sure.
I need to be processed. Okay, and see, that's the thing. That's one reason why we do ancestor elevation, even for people we don't like. When you find somebody, a spirit you don't like, elevate them, get them out, let them start the process of healing, because that is a lot of drama. I mean, I can just imagine that. And a few weeks ago, I had this person talking to me about their views of death and how they would die, and they believe in a form of Christianity, and you're never going to believe this yet.
Be nice.
I am nice. Okay, so at the moment of death, God is going to come and take the spirit out of the head like a vacuum cleaner. I was like, all right. And then the spirit is going to go up and be put to sleep, and they're waiting for this mansion that's being built in heaven. And once the mansion is complete, then God is going to wake that spirit and put that spirit in the mansion.
Well, that makes sense to me. I mean, construction is having a lot of staffing problems right now, and it's going to take a while for all this to be completed.
But I mean, hell, it took him only 3 days to create the world,
Wow.
and he had over 2,000 years. I mean,
I was
come
able to do
on.
stuff in my 20s that I can't do so well today.
What the hell? And he's
But I tell
already in
you,
his mansion. He's already in his mansion.
right?
So if he, I mean, can you imagine you get swooped up out of your brain, like those things that's in banks, in the bank drive-through, right up there, like that,
Pneumatic
and
tube.
then you get gassed, you get gassed, and you're put in a little coffin, and you may not even be woke up again. Can you imagine that?
Did that
I
seem
mean,
to bring
remember,
him comfort?
and I'm like, this brings you comfort, and I'm like, and it did, because God is going to wake me up. Well, if God hasn't woke up all those other people yet, and he's had all this time to create this mansion for everybody, which should have been created over 1,000 years ago. Okay. Then when the hell are you going to wake up? Number one, dying is, it's going to be a tragedy in itself. Okay. That's going to be the first trauma that the spirit's going to go through. And then the spirit is going to be gassed. I mean, the way it's going to be yanked out, and then it's going to be gassed. Really?
Well,
The psychiatrist, I can just imagine the psychiatrist will have a damn fit once they get woke up.
well, but all this stuff is metaphor. I mean, that's the whole point. Is we have stories. Some we've been told. Some we found on our own, and they give us some way to interact with death, but we can't really understand what that is. And so I think whatever story helps you to accept that part of living in nature is that you have to die in nature, and whatever way allows you to have that as part of your understanding, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, all of these ideas, even some of the ones that we subscribe to in witchcraft, they're fairy tales. They're comic books. They're allegory. They're metaphor. They're not the truth, but they are a way for us to understand the truth. And good for him that he's got something. As long as he doesn't try to impose it on you.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, Papa Legba, please get me out of this place.
Well, believe it or not, for some people, Papa Legba is pretty way out.
He is for a lot of people,
Yeah.
but for me, he's the dude. He's the man. One of the few ones that I will interact with.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, that seems to be all for our show today. Things are going very quickly, aren't they?
Yeah, I would say so, but that's all right. We could always make more.
We always do. So embrace your inner power, support your community, and keep your fuzzy babies, your family, friends, and yourself safe. Make sure that your black cats and black dogs are hidden inside during the Halloween and Samhain week. Make sure that they're not in danger, and have an absolute magical week.
I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock, And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk. Nikki, Kirby with that black stone. I agree, Evermoving We Rise. Life and soul will the beautiful mind. I give you blessings under moonlight. I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday, 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk.